All right, let's start with something fun. Hold out your hand right now. Yeah, literally. If you're watching this on your phone, don't worry. You can do it with one hand while holding the phone with the other. Got it? Okay, now look at your fingers. Specifically, your index finger and your ring finger. These two are the stars of the show today. Now here's the test. Compare the length of those two fingers. If your ring finger, the one you'd put a wedding ring on, is longer than your index finger, congratulations. You belong to what scientists call the type R group. If your index finger is longer than your ring finger, that makes you type 1. And if they're pretty much the same length, well, you're in the balanced camp. Lucky you. But hold on. Why does this even matter? Why am I asking you to stare at your hand like a fortune teller at a carnival? Here's why. Studies show that the ratio between these two fingers can reveal a lot about you, your personality, your confidence level, even certain tendencies in your behavior. And honestly, what we're about to uncover is way more interesting than any zodiac sign or personality quiz you've ever taken. So let me break it down for you. This little difference in finger length actually starts way before you were even born. Yep. We're talking about when you were still in your mom's womb. Scientists discovered that the amount of testosterone you were exposed to during that time influences how long these two fingers grow. More testosterone usually means a longer ring finger compared to the index finger. And that hormone, it doesn't just affect your hands, it leaves little fingerprints, no pun intended, on your personality. Pretty wild, right? Just by looking at your hand, you can get a sneak peek into your inner wiring. And no, it's not magic. It's biology. It's science. And I'm going to show you exactly what it means for you in just a second. But first, let's make sure you're doing the check correctly. Here's how to do it step by step. Put your hand flat, palm facing you. Keep your fingers straight but relaxed. Don't stretch them out like you're trying to impress someone in a hand model audition. Now look at the tips of your index and ring finger. Which one is longer? If the ring finger is noticeably longer, your team ring finger. If the index finger takes the lead, your team index. If they're almost the same, you're in the balanced zone. All right. Now that you know your team, type it in the comments. Are you team ring finger or team index finger? And don't cheat. No bending your hand weirdly to make one look longer. We're keeping it honest here. So why do people care about this? Because this ratio, which scientists call the digit ratio, has been linked to confidence, risk-taking, competitiveness, even leadership tendencies. And that's what we're diving into today. Spoiler alert, if you've got that longer ring finger, you might just have a personality that screams bold and fearless. But we'll get to that in the next part. Quick side note. Don't freak out if your fingers don't match what you expected. This isn't a 100% guarantee of your destiny. It's more like a fun, science-backed personality clue. Think of it like those ancestry tests. Interesting, sometimes a little spooky, but definitely not a crystal ball. All right, you ready? Now that you know your type, let's dig into what it says about you. And trust me, you're going to be shocked at how accurate this feels. All right, so you've done the test. You know your team. If your ring finger is longer than your index finger, buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you is going to make you go, whoa, that's me. And if your index finger is longer, don't worry. We'll get to you later. But for now, let's talk about team ring finger, the people with the longer ring finger. What does that actually mean for your personality? Well, here's the deal. Research shows that this trait is linked to higher exposure to testosterone before you were even born. That's the hormone that shapes a lot of competitive and bold behaviors. So, if you're in this group, chances are you're confident, assertive, and not afraid to take risks. Sound familiar? You're the type who sees a challenge and thinks, yeah, I can handle that. Maybe you're the person in your friend group who always says, let's just do it when everyone else is overthinking. Or maybe you're the one who makes the first move in dating because you hate waiting around. You've got that go-getter energy, and honestly, it's magnetic. People notice it. They either admire it, or they're a little intimidated by it. But wait, Before you start thinking you're some kind of superhero, let's be real. That boldness comes with a few downsides. You might act before you think sometimes. Ever bought something ridiculously expensive and then had buyer's remorse 5 minutes later? Yeah, that's the impulsiveness talking. Or maybe you've jumped into a big decision without doing all the research. Sound familiar? See, being confident is awesome. It helps you take opportunities others might miss. But if you're not careful, it can also lead to unnecessary risks. Like, let's not gamble the rent money just because you feel lucky, okay? Now, here's something interesting. People with longer ring fingers also tend to have better spatial awareness. That means you're good at things like sports, navigation, and maybe even video games. If you crush it at first-person shooters or can parallel park like a pro, you might have your fingers to thank. Scientists say this is tied to that same testosterone influence, which impacts brain development. Crazy, right? And here's the kicker. Studies have linked this finger trait to higher levels of confidence in social situations. Translation? You probably don't shy away from speaking up in a meeting or introducing yourself at a party. You like to take charge, and people often see you as a natural leader. But, and this is a big but, that leadership vibe can turn into bossiness if you're not careful. Nobody likes a control freak, so keep that in check. So, to sum it up, if you've got a longer ring finger, you're bold, confident, competitive, and maybe a little impulsive. You love challenges, you thrive under pressure, and you hate losing. Sound like you? Type, "That's me," in the comments if this is hitting home right now. But don't click away just yet, because in the next part we're going to talk about how this little finger thing connects to your career and success. And trust me, if you're a Type R, you're gonna love what I have to say. So stick around. Your future boss energy is about to make sense.
All right, now that we've covered your personality, let's talk about something that really matters. How does this tiny finger difference play into your career and success? Because let's be honest, if my hand can tell me how to get rich, I'm listening. So here's the thing. If your ring finger is longer than your index finger, studies suggest you might have what we call a competitive edge in certain fields. Why? Because that confidence and risk-taking tendency we talked about earlier, it doesn't just make you fun at parties. It makes you bold in business. You're not the person who sits back and waits for opportunities to knock. You're the one who kicks the door down and says, "What's up, opportunity? I'm here." This is why people with this trait often thrive in high pressure, performance driven environments. Think sales, entrepreneurship, leadership roles, investing, real estate, tech startups, anywhere you need guts, quick decisions, and the ability to take calculated risks. Sound familiar? That's because your personality is wired for the hustle. You're also more likely to negotiate harder. That confidence you carry into social settings, it works wonders in business too. You're the one who isn't afraid to ask for the raise, pitch a big idea, or say, "You know what? I'll take that project no one wants and I'll crush it." And honestly, employers love that energy. But here's the flip side, and you knew this was coming. That same boldness can backfire if you're not careful. Sometimes you might take unnecessary risks because you love the thrill of the challenge. Ever heard of someone quitting their stable job to launch a company with no business plan? Yeah, don't be that person. Risk is great, but smart risk is better. So if your team ring finger, remember, ambition is a gift, but it needs strategy. Now let's talk about networking because this is another area where you shine. You're naturally confident, so meeting new people doesn't scare you. In fact, you probably enjoy it. You're the type to walk into a room, shake hands, and leave with three new contacts. This makes you a natural connector, and that's gold for career growth. Oh, and here's a fun fact. Studies have found that athletes often have longer ring fingers compared to their index fingers. Why? That same testosterone influence is linked to competitiveness and physical ability. So if you're great at sports or even just love the gym, that might be another sign your hands were telling the truth all along. But listen, this doesn't mean you can't succeed if your index finger is longer. Don't go blaming your fingers if you hate your job. This is just one little piece of the puzzle. It gives you clues, not your entire destiny. At the end of the day, hard work and mindset matter way more than finger length. But hey, if you've got a natural advantage, why not use it? So, to wrap this up, longer ring finger, you've probably got leadership potential, a fearless streak, and the guts to go after big goals. Just make sure you pair that confidence with a solid plan, and you're unstoppable. In the next part, we're going to flip the script. What if your index finger is longer? What does that mean for you? Spoiler alert, it's not a bad thing. In fact, it might make you even more successful in certain ways. Stay tuned. All right, time to show some love to Team Index Finger. If your index finger is longer than your ring finger, you might be wondering, okay, so I didn't win the testosterone lottery. What does that mean for me? Well, buckle up because this is actually pretty awesome. First off, people with a longer index finger tend to be more empathetic, thoughtful, and cautious. You're the planner, the strategist, the person who thinks before they act. And let's be real, in a world where everyone's rushing into things, that's a superpower. While other people are jumping off the cliff because it sounds fun, you're the one checking if there's water at the bottom first. That's smart. You also tend to have strong communication skills. You're probably great at expressing your thoughts, listening to others, and building meaningful relationships. People come to you for advice because they know you actually think things through. You don't just blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. You consider how it will affect them. That makes you trustworthy, and trust is currency in life. Now let's talk about confidence. You might not be the loudest person in the room, but don't confuse that with weakness. You have quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to show off to prove anything. You're more likely to lead with wisdom rather than dominance. That's why people respect you. In terms of decision making, you're cautious, yes, but in the best way. You're less likely to make impulsive choices that could backfire. Ever heard the phrase measure twice, cut once? That's you. You do your homework before making a move, and in the long run, that usually pays off big time. Here's the fun part. This trait is also linked to higher levels of emotional intelligence. That means you can read people well, understand what they're feeling, and respond in a way that makes them feel heard. In relationships, this is gold. You're probably the partner who remembers anniversaries, listens to problems, and actually cares. Now, about career paths. People like you often thrive in fields where planning, analysis, and communication are key. Think management, counseling, education, writing, law, healthcare, anywhere that requires strategy and empathy. You're not about reckless risks, you're about smart, calculated moves. And guess what? That makes you incredibly valuable in leadership roles too. Because let's be honest, what's better than a leader who actually listens? But let me give you a little warning. Sometimes you can overthink, like you'll analyze something to death and miss the perfect timing. Sound familiar? If you've ever lost an opportunity because you were still making a pro-con list, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. So my advice, trust yourself a little more. You've got the brains, just don't let fear hold you back. So, to wrap this up, if your index finger is longer, you're empathetic, thoughtful, intelligent, and a natural problem solver. You've got skills that make people trust and respect you. And honestly, that's leadership in its purest form. In the next part, we're going to bring it all together. What does it mean if your fingers are the same length? And why does this whole thing even matter for your life? Stay with me. We're almost at the finish line. Okay, so we've talked about team ring finger, team index finger, but what if you looked at your hand and thought, they're basically the same? Congrats. You're in what I like to call team balance. And honestly, You might have the best of both worlds. People with equal index and ring fingers tend to have a balanced personality. You've got confidence when you need it, but you're also thoughtful and considerate. You're not overly aggressive and you're not overly cautious. You sit right in the sweet spot. That means you can adapt to different situations easily. In business, that's huge. In relationships, even better. Here's what's cool. You're probably the person who can lead and follow, depending on what's needed. You can take charge when the group is clueless, but you're also fine letting someone else shine. That kind of flexibility makes you a great team player and a great leader. Now, let's talk about why all this even matters. Is this finger thing going to decide your future? Number, but it gives you clues about your natural tendencies. It's like having a little cheat sheet for your personality. Knowing your strengths means you can use them to your advantage. Knowing your weaknesses means you can work on them. And let's be real, it's also just fun to learn about yourself. We spend so much time trying to figure out who we are, and sometimes the answers are literally in our hands. So whether you're team ring, team index, or team balance, here's the takeaway. Your fingers might give you a hint about your personality, but at the end of the day, you're in control. Confidence, empathy, leadership, success, those things don't come from your hand. They come from your choices. But hey, next time you're at a party and someone asks, "What's your sign?" you can just hold up your hand and say, "Forget horoscopes. Check out my fingers." That'll get people talking. All right, now I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me, which team are you on? Ring finger, index finger, or balance? And do the traits match your personality? Let's see how accurate this is. Thanks for hanging out with me today. If you had fun and learned something new, hit that like button, share this with a friend, and subscribe for more cool science-backed life hacks. See you next time.